In the NBA, the Utah Jazz come off an embarrassing road trip. Do we have something in the starting lineup without Lauri Markkanen? So let's go ahead and jump into the Utah Jazz here and talk a little bit about that. So there's been a change in the starting lineup after that ridiculous loss that they had in Portland, a game they should have won, where they had a lot of their frontline talent out as well. You mentioned before that even Scoot Henderson was on a minute restriction for that game.
Yeah.
And so the fact that they came out with the L there was pretty embarrassing, and Matt Hardy kind of had a come to Jesus moment with the team there and switch up the starting lineup. What were your thoughts on that?
I mean, I loved the lineup switch. I think getting Fontecchio and Yurtseven out there, it added a whole different level of intensity to the game that the Jazz have been missing for a few games now. You could actually see players out on the floor that wanted to be there. They were putting in good defensive effort. Like, most importantly, they actually looked like they wanted to win basketball games, because the effort for the last few games has been, let's just go out there and give it our best shot.
Yeah.
Turn the ball over, be lackadaisical, and just not really care. It was a nice change of pace. I very much enjoyed watching the last two games because realistically, this New Orleans team is not terrible. They've got a ton of talent.
No, they're not.
You know, Zion Williamson and
they're ahead of the Jazz in the standings.
Yeah, Brandon Ingram. Yeah, I mean, they're a pretty good team, right? So for the Jazz to beat them twice in a row is huge steps, right? They came out, they played good, they looked good, and they were fun to watch.
Yeah.
So
I also thought that was great that even though Brandon Ingram got to his point average, they still were able to pull out a win.
Yeah.
Which I thought was awesome. And it's defense that really won that game for him the second game. I mean, you had players out there diving and jumping to keep Zion Williamson being able to take a decent shot after that missed jump shot from Brandon Ingram there.
Yeah.
So I really feel like the defense is what won the game there for him. And you saw a lot of these hustle plays where, you know, Fontecchio was diving on the floor, and I think it was Yurtseven. Was it Yurtseven or Fontecchio that Will Hardy talked about how he came into the locker room with a black eye?
Yeah, Fontecchio.
Yeah, Fontecchio. He's like, looked like he was just in a boxing match, and he's like, and he welcomed it. You need that kind of toughness on the team, and the Jazz have not had that kind of player on their team in quite a long time.
No, and I agree. I mean, and I really like Markkanen, and I think he does a great job bringing a certain level of intensity. But that level of toughness is something that this Jazz team is missing, right? Like, just intent with every action you do, and, you know, willingness to be physical. Fontecchio bringing that is something that you can't you're not going to find it on a stat sheet. You're not going to be able to circle any statistics to show it, but he comes out there and he just brings grit, and that's what this team was missing.
Oh, yeah. Should we read anything into this, though, about Lauri Markkanen when he's not playing? The Jazz rattle off 2 wins. Is there anything that should be read into that, or do you think it's simply just Will Hardy shaking it up and letting people know that, hey, we need to see a little bit more effort out there?
I think it's probably a good combination of both. I think having Lauri not on the floor has kind of made some guys realize that they do need to step up and do need to play a little bit harder. And then I think Will Hardy shaking up the lineup and saying, no one is going to play on this basketball team just because of who you are. We're going to put the best basketball players out on the floor that are going to give the most effort and put us in the best opportunities to win. And I think that's exactly the result of what you're seeing in those last 2 games where they were good and they looked much better. I think you're seeing players playing for each other and not just playing because of, you know, trying to earn some stats or pad their individual stats. Like, I think you saw good team basketball from this Jazz, good team defense from this Jazz team, and that was exactly what they needed.
Yeah, I really think it's a Will Hardy move that he basically stated it as, I don't care what your paycheck is. I don't care who we traded for you.
Yep.
Like, you have to earn your minutes on this team.
Yep.
And it's really funny if you really look at the minutes and how that's played out. Like, Simone Fontecchio and Yurtseven, both of them, you take their points together on average for both of those games, they made up the difference that Lauri Markkanen's points on average are 24 points per game.
Yep, absolutely.
Which I think is awesome. And I think it definitely keeps other teams' defense honest when you don't obviously know who the first option is going to be on this team. Because when he's on the bench and he's not playing, who's your first option?
Well, you could tell they knew who the first option was going to be because they were doubling Jordan Clarkson every single time he touched the basketball.
Right.
I mean, they were sending 2 or 3 guys at him. They were making him
with that jump. Exception, obviously.
Yeah.
You know, because he's known to be their guy. But with that exception, they didn't really know where to go after that.
Yeah. I mean, who's going to score the ball after him? You know, Keontae George, we know he's a fantastic basketball player, but I think there's definitely not a team in the NBA that's going to say, go ahead and throw a double at him, or, you know, like you're gonna let Keontae George beat you,
right?
As an NBA basketball team, you know, as a program itself.
Yeah.
If Keontae can beat you, go to town, big fella.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think it's just an even dispersion of there. There's nobody on the Jazz that on either one of those games against New Orleans, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's nobody on either one of those games that the Jazz won where they scored 20 points or more.
Nope.
Either one of those games, but both games had 6 players in double figures.
Yeah.
And they had less than 20 turnovers a game. I believe one of them was less than 10. They only had 9 turnovers in that second win.
Yeah.
So I think that's really kind of the key there for the Jazz is to take care of the ball and kind of just distribute. I think that's the biggest thing. I saw a lot of hustle on defense from the Jazz players there. You saw people like Simone Fontecchio just diving on there, taking shots. And then you see Yurtseven just battling for rebounds. And you see Walker Kessler. I mean, we haven't even talked about him, but he was probably a huge piece of how well the Jazz defended over the last couple of games. I really just think the Jazz need to be a defensive first type team. You're not going to outscore the rest of the people in the West. So I think the identity for this Jazz team is just to have the heart and hustle on the defensive end to really kind of get themselves a shot to still be a playoff team.
Yep. No, I totally agree. And Walker Kessler and Ochai Agbaji have been, I mean, those guys are leading the team in block percentage right now. As of now, Kessler's blocking 4.4 of shots taken, and Agbaji's blocking 1.9% of shots taken against him. So these guys are doing a good job getting stops, and I think we're kind of overlooking Agbaji too, because he's had some really good strong minutes defensively, and he's actually been knocking down 3-point shots.
He's money on that quarter 3.
Yeah, I mean they're actually kind of starting to find a rhythm, for where these guys can find their little corner of how they can help this Jazz team. And I mean even Keontae's had some really good defensive minutes. Mm-hmm. He's only fouling on 1.6% of plays, which is in the 91st percentile, and that's a great clip for a rookie, being that he's guarding a lot of higher profile players just due to his size. At 6'4", they're putting him in positions where he's gonna have to guard bigger, stronger players, but he's not putting himself in a spot where he's fouling a ton. So
I mean, if he could drop the average turnovers on him for just maybe 2 turnovers a game, bring it down to below 5, and still maintain like 7 assists and limit the turnovers and stay out of foul trouble, what else could you expect from that kid?
20 points a game.
I think 19
That's all we need.
Yeah, 19 is his high. So let's
curb the expectations a little bit.
Just a wee bit. I don't know.
Nope, we need 20 a game, 7 assists, probably like 6-7 rebounds.
6-7 rebounds, 2 steals, and he needs to sell 3 bags of popcorn.
Yeah.
That's what we're gonna need out of you, Keontae. So
that's what we need from you, buddy. And once you're there, I'll buy a jersey.
There you go.
I'll wear a George jersey for sure.
Yeah. I have a rule when it comes to buying jerseys.
Don't
only buy legacy players.
Yeah, no. I agree with that because I currently have some jerseys, and I believe one of them is Al Jefferson.
Oh my goodness.
Gordon Hayward. And Donovan Mitchell. Those are the 3 jerseys that I currently have.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's hurtful.
It was rough.
Yeah. Well, I think one of those is okay. I think Donovan Mitchell, his time here, he gave us a lot. We traded him.
Yeah.
It's not like he left in free agency
Gordon Hayward
holding the team hostage. So I think that one's gonna be okay. But yeah, Al Jefferson, man, those are some dark days.
I love Big Al when we had him, man. I was so excited to get Al Jefferson.
Those were some dark days in Utah history, man.
Yeah.
When you had Al Jefferson, Pal Millsap days. You're just like, ugh.
Yeah. Oof. When you're relying on Al Jefferson for like 80% of your scoring, that team's in trouble.
Yeah.
Especially because he does 0 defense.
Yeah. He's a turnstile on the defensive end. So yeah, those were the hard times. I think that was the last time the Jazz were really
in it. Bad. Ty Corbin bad. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the bad stretch, man. When we were just like, would they make the playoffs? Do they have a shot to make? I think that was the last time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those were some rough days.
They were.
Let us know what you guys think, Jazz fans. We'd love to hear from you on when you thought were the darkest days of Jazz times.
Yes, absolutely. But yeah, let us know in the comments down below, folks. What do you think about the Utah Jazz? Do you really think this switch in the starting lineup is going to make any difference? I mean, do you think this is going to be something permanent? Do you think, obviously, with Lauri Markkanen going to be playing again, and with Kessler off of minute restrictions from his injury, we're probably going to see them more. But do you see this shakeout? Do you see this team being the same as they are now at the trade deadline? Definitely something we should probably talk about in greater detail in another episode. But yeah. So let us know in the comments down below, folks. Again, a reminder, if you currently are not subscribed to the DNA Sports Recap YouTube channel, please go ahead and click that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. And if you're liking what you see so far, hit that like button. If we get this video to 100 likes, we'll go ahead and give away a sweet DNA t-shirt.
Yep, absolutely. If you are watching on YouTube, make sure you like this video. Make sure you share it. Again, like Darren said, make sure you guys subscribe.
So once again, folks, my name is Darren. That is AJ. And this has been the DNA Sports Recap.
Till next time.